Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. He'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
arrived. To demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
That's it. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. There we go. Now you can hear me. Turn the microphone. How you doing? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Glad you could be here. Today is the 12th of September. We made it past the 11th. We have a moon sign in Taurus, which is an earth sign. Our sun sign is in Virgo, which is also an earth sign. So we have double earth going on today. Earth is the thing we walk on. Earth is the physical body. Earth is the we have the fire, the water, the air creates the earth. So we have this solid object, the earth. And so whenever we have earth, we know that earth doesn't move like fire and water and air. Earth is pretty solid. So when you have an earth element around, you know that things are pretty solid. And if earth gets moved, it's something pretty drastic, like an earthquake or a big jolt for something. So we have this double earth. That means we're focusing and looking at things dealing with our physical life and our bodies, things of that nature. That's what happens when you deal and look with the earth. So with a subconscious mind in Taurus, we're looking at the Taurian things, the things that Taurus finds pleasurable to the world, to life. You know, having pleasure around the body, having beauty around, enjoying, the peacefulness of what's around. The Taurus card in the tarot is the Hierophant, which is the teacher who's learning to bridge together the spiritual and connect it or hook it with the physical world. And then, of course, the sun sign Virgo is all about helping, service, providing light in the physical world. Because the hermit goes into solitude, finds the light, which is another way of saying information, finds the information, and then brings it back to the people, brings it back to the world, and holds that lantern high for others to see. Over the course of today, we do have a number of aspects to look at. First one that we just came across not too long ago was between our moon sign Taurus and Neptune. Neptune says we need to take a new perspective, and Taurus is the way in which we're looking at the earthly matters, our physical body. And so a nice good harmony in there. It sets us in the way of looking at life and looking at the day in a new perspective. How we enjoy things. What do we really find pleasure in? 11 o'clock, we have another aspect, a trine between the moon sign Taurus and Venus, which is imagination. So a trine is good positive energy, a good aspect to flow between them. So Venus and Taurus, they go well together. Venus is the sign within Taurus that works together and shines over the ideas of Taurus. And so these two work really well together. Venus, imagination. So it's an imagining how the physical body and how the physical world finds pleasure. Okay? So we think of the Taurus and we're applying these ideas of how these things apply to what the Taurus represents. And then we have at 3:21 p.m. Pluto is now getting in the act, and Pluto is in an aspect with Taurus. Pluto is about deep transformation and change. So in the way in which we look at the world. So I would say that these opening aspects of today in regards to Taurus are giving us perspective of the way in which we're looking at the world, especially the way in which we look at our body and how we do things for ourselves, for our body, to make the changes we need, maybe thinking about our health situations. Later this evening, we do have a square going on between Taurus, and this one is Jupiter. Jupiter's expansion, so when that's around, everything expands around it. So when everything expands, suddenly, imagine if you were on a boat, and the boat was in the lake, and all of a sudden, the lake became an ocean. Imagine that immediate expansion. Well, that's kind of the idea I think of when I think of Jupiter. Jupiter suddenly expands everything around it. And so if everything suddenly expands around what that Taurus is about, there's a great lesson that needs to be learned on how to apply all of that expansion without becoming overwhelmed. And that's the lesson of the Taurus. That's the way in which he does that, because we think of this expansion. It's always an expansion of the elements: fire, water, air, and earth. So we're expanding these elements out, and as we expand them out, and we're delving to the physical and the other realms, the fire, water, the air, which are all expanding, as this is going on, the Taurus, whose job is to hook together the spiritual and the physical, is simply doing that. So as things expand, and the more that the Taurus idea is hooked together with that spiritual world, it doesn't matter how things are expanding, because that world is expanding with it. Does that make sense? And later tonight we have an aspect with the wounded healer. It's also related to Virgo in some ways, and it's just a good reminder that inside of ourselves we have this being that when we really learn about who we are, we find out that everything we can do in life makes us stronger. Okay, over the weekend, Taurus is going to be there with us tomorrow, and on Sunday it's making a transition from Taurus into Gemini. When we return on Monday, that's where we will be. Numerology for today is the number 1. Here's how we arrived at the number 1. 9 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2, 0, 1, 4 adds up to a 19. 19, 1 plus 9 is 10, and 1 plus 0 is 1. So today is a 1 day. So according to the numerology of the Gregorian calendar, 1 is the numerology, the focus point. So 1 is the new beginning. We start with the 1. Now prior to the 1 there is a 0, and we do hear about 0 from time to time, especially with the tarot, and 0 just ties everything together. It could be the very last number, it could be the very first one before the 1. So that's where 0 comes into play. We only see it when we're looking at the tree of life and those aspects there. So we got the number 1 here. We know it's the Mercury and the Magician. We see our number 1 right here, numerology, the Magician right here, the Virgo right here, and Taurus right here. Okay, so today, why don't we take a look at Taurus. Let's take a look at Taurus for our card today. So Taurus is the Hierophant. The Hierophant's the spiritual teacher. And what's important is these Hebrew letters. The Hebrew letter here, Va. In the name of God, Yod-He, Vah-He, this is one of the names, so it has a significance into God's name. It's an earth sign, represents Taurus. But this hook is very important. What it means is we live in this world, and this physical world, and we experience physical things, but we have to remind ourselves that we are connected to a spiritual world. And that's what the Hierophant does. The Hierophant reminds us, because this hook, the reason it means hook is because the Hierophant is hooking together the physical and the spiritual. And by bringing that spiritual down into it, it changes the way in which we do things in the physical world. And therefore it changes the way in which the body uses the energy and interprets what's going on. So it makes a big, big difference. It implies the idea of hearings also. Hearing is the function assigned to the Hierophant. The Hebrew letter Vav means nail, and also a conjunction and or ornament hanging from the crown of the Hierophant, and passing behind his ears is a conventionalized yoke. A yoke is something that joins together again symbolizing union. So it's this union of the spirit and the physical. The Hindu word for union is yoga. The cards symbolize interior hearing or the development of intuition by certain practices of yoga. This is what we call interior hearing. It is the real inner teaching coming from your own inner self, your true teacher. That self is represented by the Hierophant. In this connection, we must caution that the true interior hearing is not negative, lower psychic types of clairaudience. The difference is really distinguished by the quality of that is heard. Intuition is above reason, but never contrary to it, and never urges it to do an unethical or a selfish thing. The pillars represent the law of polarity, or an interplay of the pairs of opposites. Their capitals show a ball in a socket pattern and an acorn surrounded by oak leaves. This symbolizes the union of opposites. The design of the wands and the cross keys is a bell. This symbolizes sound vibration used in hearing. It is also a hint that sound has a practical value, unlocking the gates of your inner temple. The two ministers who kneel before the Hierophant represent desire and knowledge, as indicated by the roses and lilies on their garment. So we see again pair of opposites throughout Kabbalah, throughout Tarot. You see that a lot because we're always looking to find a way in which to balance out these opposites. Now, this is very important here, what this says in this line about it, the connection. We must caution you that the true interior hearing is not the negative lower psychic types. And this is very important because through the Hierophant, what we're looking for is we are listening for that inner teacher. And that inner teacher has a voice. And we understand that voice. It's the voice of our higher self. It's the voice of God. But there are those voices that are out there, the voices of those who have passed on, discarnate entities, all sorts of other voices that are around, not necessarily the voice of the Creator. So what our job is when we're expanding out into that spiritual realm is to really, first and foremost, understand the difference between the voice and the voices. You want to make sure that you're listening to the voice, that voice of God. You don't want to get caught up in all the voices, because the voices, well, they could just be any random sort of characters that passed on. Maybe they're being friends, maybe they're throwing you good advice, maybe they're not so much. So you have to be careful with that, Just because somebody has passed on doesn't necessarily mean the advice that they're going to give you is that great. So we always have to look and listen for that voice of the Creator. That's the important part. All right, the moon phase we can see is 83% of the way full. We're making our way back down to a new moon. Up in the sky tonight here, this is what we will see after sunset. It says solar eruption to hit Earth around 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time Friday morning, possibly causing auroras and other side effects. Okay, we have Antares, Mars, Saturn. Now from an almost equally spaced straight line is shown at the right. Mars continues to move east against its starry background. Watch for it to pass 3 degrees north of Antares on the 27th and 28th. This evening, one of Saturn's moons, 10 magnitude Rhea, will occult or cover up a much brighter star, which is called a SAO. Okay. And we move on from there to the Mayan Oracle. It's a 5-tone day. 5 Earth, so it's the overtone Earth guided by the serpent. The phrase is, I am power in order to evolve, commanding synchronicity. I seal the matrix of navigation with the overtone tone of radiance. I am guided by the power of life force. We're at space weather. Get a little bit more insight on what's going on with our Earth in regards to this flare. Here's the update. It says the first 2 CMEs expected to hit the Earth's magnetic field on 12th has arrived, and a minor G1 class geomagnetic storm is underway as a result of the impact. The second and potentially more powerful CMA is still en route. NOAA forecasters say geomagnetic storming could become strong, as high as a G3 during the late hours of the 12th and into the 13th after the second CME hits. So solar wind 399.0 kilometers per second. Planetary K index, as we can see right here, is in that unsettled to stormy area. Now the scale goes up to 9. So when we see it get really, really high, we'll have to then really pay more attention. But for right now, I think we're okay. We'll get some auroras and things of this nature. Alright, no coronal holes facing us, just the one that's sliding by in the bottom there. M-class flare possibility is up to 85% chance. X-class is now up to 50, so that's increasing. And our geomagnetic storm activity, well, in accordance with what we were just read there about this solar flare that's going to come our way, we could see that everything is increasing as well. Look at this, 90% in the higher latitudes. So have your cameras ready if you're in the high latitudes. This was a X-class flare that when it hits us, it could provide some good auroras for around the planet. And from there, we're going to go over to the Jewish calendar. 17 Elul is the date for today. Let's see what 17 Elul is all about. Before the Baal Shem Toi, people thought of God as the one who directs all things from above and beyond. The Baal Tem Shem Tov taught the vital force of each thing, the place from which comes its personality, its sense of pain and pleasure, its growth in life. That itself is God. Now that this is all God is less than a glimmer of God, because God is entirely beyond all such descriptions. But that life force is God. He is found within each creature he has made. And there you go. That gets us started for today. UFO news is up next. Let's get to it.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. First story takes us out to the moon. This is an object that was discovered. Location in the Aristarchus crater. Sources come from NASA. And there we have what appears to be some sort of a building. This one looks like it has an entranceway. Street Cap One of YouTube found a structure in this crater, so I had to have a closer look. I downloaded the full video and photo, and I found a lot of fragmented structures everywhere. The moon's surface looks like it's been littered with ancient, abandoned technology. I don't think these structures or devices left behind are used anymore. Just old alien garbage. Recycling is great if you are conveniently close to such things, but what if you are many solar systems away from home? Yep, leave it where it is and head off. Here are a few photos of structures of interest in the same crater. Okay, always good stuff and interesting things found up there at the moon. The only thing they never seem to be able to grab a picture of is the old moon landing site. And I know they gave us a picture, but it was a 3D image. A 3D image of the moon landing site. They haven't taken a picture of the site yet. But of course the Chinese are up there and they could very easily take a picture, but they haven't. Okay, moving along over São Paulo, Brazil. This very strange series of UFOs lights were recently filmed over São Paulo, Brazil. Many people have speculated that the lights are parts of a larger cloaked UFO. There's been no reasonable explanation either from either the media or the military on exactly what happened. The media, really? Somebody who wrote this actually thought that the media would give a reasonable explanation? Who wrote this article? Come on now. You're not paying attention if you think the media is going to give you an explanation about UFOs. Okay, and certainly not the military either. So, see, this is part of what I think is an issue that we as humanity need to wake up to. Why are people in this day and age, 2014, when they're lied to by their governments and their media and their military. Why are people still going to them for the answers? That's the silliness of it. That's where Americans, that's where humans are silly. We go after the people who are lying to us and misinforming us and ask them to tell us the answer. Oy vey, that's all I can say. Oh, look at that one. That's a pretty good. Yeah, it does look like it's part of something much bigger, huh? Okay, let's move on from here. This is Sydney, Australia, on the 11th. A strange unidentified object was caught on tape over Sydney on the 11th of September. Witness reports, when I spotted the chemtrail, this large object just came out from this cloud. The camera used was a Sony DC RTR V530 digital camera with infrared 850 optical filter fitted. Daytime capture, super night shot, position on. 5 minutes and 5 seconds for this video. You can see the object right here. One of those white orbs we've seen many a times before. Okay, and the video is 5 minutes long. Link will be available at firstcontactradio.com. Here we have a new Android app. Since we recently migrated to the new platform, the Android app didn't work anymore, so it was about time we made a new one. You can download it here, and click on the link, and it takes you right to the place's latest UFO sightings, where you can check out and get your own Android app. That way you can stay on top of what is going on with the latest sightings. Very good. The link's available. And last, the Guinness Book of World Records. Interest in UFOs and ETs sets new Guinness World Record. The Guinness World Record has released its 2015 edition, celebrating over 60 years of finding the biggest, wildest, and weirdest records in the world. The latest edition features the evolution of record-breaking since Guinness, yes, the beer maker, began keeping track 60 years ago. Lately, at least in the last 2 years, the mainstream media has been occasionally reporting that the day of the UFOs is over. Based on the website numbers and attendance at UFO conventions, I would wager to say that not only are those claims misfounded, but they represent nothing short of false and misleading reporting. What? The media is lying? Most of us know that the mainstream media no longer even attempts to be impartial. They have chosen sides on almost most issues and certainly have an agenda. I wish I could tell you why they are downplaying the UFO phenomena, but I really have no idea. The interest in visitors and to educating humanity has grown exponentially in the last 2 years and shows no signs of abating. UFO TV series, documentaries, and new books are all being received exceptionally well. The Record, the world's largest UFO convention. The state of Arizona hosted the world's largest gathering of extraterrestrial enthusiasts of all time. More than 2,500 people attended the 5-day International UFO Congress at Fort McDonald Resort and Casino. Among other notable guest speakers was Richard Hoover, a retired NASA astrobiologist who claims that the government has valid evidence of extraterrestrial life. Other hot topics included crop circles, black projects, government cover-ups, possible UFO propulsion system, and alien abductions. Participants came virtually from every part of the world: Asia, Europe, Central, and South American. They were a well-educated, intelligent group that had keen interests to learn about UFOs and extraterrestrial life in the universe. So, I'd venture to say that the UFO phenomena is just alive and well as it has been, if not even more. And I say that based on what I see at these conventions. I see the numbers continuing to rise. I know that on a daily basis I can go out there and I can find new UFO sightings. So every day there's a new sighting. So it's not that the sightings are dying off. So if interest is dying off, it has no relation to the amount of sightings that are coming in, because they're coming in every single day. Alright, there you go. That's our UFO news for today. I'm going to jump away. When I get back, we're going to continue on with our Friday discussions about Jesus. I'll be back.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace. Oh.
So Fridays I like to talk about Jesus. Jesus Fridays. I love talking about Jesus. I'm sure that you love hearing about Jesus and talking about Jesus equally as much because I see that you're here. I read your comments and your emails. Much appreciated. So it's very fascinating, the stories about Jesus. I've been reading them for a long time, as I'm sure you have. It's very fascinating, and I think what I find to be fascinating about the whole story about Jesus are not necessarily the stories themselves, but how they are viewed in the world. And every Sunday, the churches talk about what went on, stories about Jesus, and then churches end, and people come out of the churches, and it's almost like Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It almost seems like what happens in church stays in church, because once people walk out those doors, you bring up discussions about religion, what happened there. A lot of people don't like to talk about those things. It's as if their time was interrupted for an hour to go to church, and then they're going to get back to their lives. And it always seems silly to me. Never fully understand that, but what are you going to do? But nonetheless, the words of Jesus are very important, and I think if we apply them into our lives, we find that they have tremendous value. So this is parable number 11. It's from Matthew 13, 3 through 23. 4 types of soil. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, A farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. He who has ears, let him hear. The disciples came to him and said, Why do you speak to the people in parables? He replied, The knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them. Whosoever has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whosoever does not have, even what he has will be taken from him. This is why I speak to them in parables. Though seeing, they do not see. Though hearing, they do not hear or understand. In them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. And the prophecy went on to say, You will be hearing, but never understanding. You will be ever seeing, but never perceiving. For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I would heal them. But blessed are you, because your eyes see, and your ears hear. For I tell you the truth, because many prophets and righteous men long to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it. Listen then to what the parable of the sower means. When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes out and snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is the seed sown along the path. The one who has received the seed that fell on the rocky place is the man who hears the word and at once receives it with joy. But since he has no root, he lasts only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the world, it quickly falls away. The one who received the seed that fell among the thorns is the man who hears the word, but then worries of his life and his deceitfulness of wealth. It chokes him and it makes him unfruitful. But the one who received the seed that fell on good soil is the man who hears the word and understands it. He produces a crop yielding 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. So let's break this down here. So when was the last time you tuned out a speaker? It's a good question. We do it all the time, each and every day. We're just so used to it because we hear speaking all around us. So we just need to remind ourselves the times when it's important to hear and when it is time to tune things out. There's a time and place for all things. Why would a farmer allow precious seed to land on the path or rocks or among the thorns? Is he an irresponsible farmer scattering seeds at random? Good question. It just goes to show, I believe, the impartialness of the Creator. Like the Creator will give the seeds, give the wisdom to all groups. So everybody has an opportunity to evolve. Everybody has an opportunity to grow. No one is left out because the seeds are sown everywhere. But we can see from the examples the ways in which people use that information is completely different. What happened to each group of seeds? Well, just like people, they took that information and they all worked with it accordingly. Some people could only be bothered with that information for a short period of time because they had other interests. Other people, they didn't even want to bother with it at all because it interfered with their ways of life. And then other people went ahead and they followed what went on and what was said, and they had a good life. Things worked out the way that they were told. How did Jesus conclude his parable, and what did he mean by that? Well, Jesus concludes all of his parables by talking about let the eyes see and let the ears hear, because his meanings are deeper. He wants people to understand and look for the deeper meanings. But not everyone is going to get that. You know, if we think about the parable, I was having a conversation with a friend about this the other day, about why Jesus spoke in parables. And, you know, it just, what we were reminded of is that as we go through life and we have conversations on a daily basis, we meet all types of people. And some people are quick and they get into a conversation very easily and they understand what's going on. And then there's those people that we all meet which are just clueless, absolutely clueless, and no matter what is said to them, they just don't get it. I don't understand that type of cluelessness. I know a lot of people don't understand it, but it's out there in the world. And yet we see those people go out into the world clueless about what's happening, and they don't quite understand because they kind of get bounced around as well. And kind of makes you wonder, you know, if people paid more attention, they wouldn't be so clueless about what's happening. Because it seems to me when you given the information like we've been given in the Bible, how long have we had it now? A couple thousand years. So it's not like it's brand new information. And it seems to me that there's always a great thing that could be done is when you get that information to actually apply the information. So in this day and age, I think that we all have the opportunity to apply this information. 2,000 years ago, Jesus gave us this info. Imagine, for 2,000 years. So let's just imagine Jesus comes back and he's like, okay, I'm going back to planet Earth. They've had my information for 2,000 years. There's got to be about 1 million Jesuses down there ready to help me. And then Jesus comes back here and he looks and is like, what? Where's all the 1 million Jesuses? You didn't listen to what I said? You read my book and that's it? You read the words? You didn't put them into practice? So I think we got to put those words into practice, because it's the only way that we are going to get to the place where we can be effective and help Jesus in the way that Jesus wants us to help us. That's what help him. That is why he tells us that we can be like him. All of the words and everything, these stories about the Bible and the growth, it's available for all, not just for Jesus. He came to show us. That was his example. Now we have to do our part and follow that example. Put into practice the things that Jesus said. Put into practice the faith that we are taught. Put into practice the loving your enemy and your neighbor despite all that's going on. And I think if we look at the world on a day-by-day basis, and we were to ask ourselves, are we living the world and doing the things Jesus would have us do? I think it might change the way in which we do some of the things that we do. Would we be going off to fight wars with all these other countries? Would good Americans and good people around the world clamor for battle and blood every time something goes on because media pushes their buttons? I don't think so. I think people would be operating much different, because it's confusing when you see people who every Sunday go to a church, go to pray, and then during the weekdays they're clamoring for blood because they're watching the media. And it's like these two things don't match. So I think we just need to find a way to get back to who we are, put into practice these words of Jesus, of the prophets, of the teachers. It says, why didn't the people or the disciples understand this parable? For everything we just said, that people don't always understand. They don't always want to understand because it's challenging to have to put some of these things into practice. Did Jesus design his parables to have trick meanings or hidden meanings? No, just to tell a story, but for people to understand very simply. So why do some listeners discover the truth in a parable and others do not? For the same reason that two people can hear a story and both hear different versions of it. Just depends on what the mind is focused on. So why do you suppose that this was among the first parables that Jesus told? Well, very important, because Jesus was about to go out and deliver a message. Be the sower of the seeds. So he's letting them know, I'm coming out there to sow these seeds. Some of you are going to get it, and some of you aren't. He just let them know right up front. That way it gives people an opportunity to think. Some people might say, what do you mean I might not be the one to get it? And then they work even harder to make sure that they do. So sometimes that is inspiration that helps us to get where we need to get. It says, why couldn't those who receive the word with joy stay faithful? It's because sometimes those emotions, we talk about the emotions and everything's energy. Those emotions get pushed. That button of those emotions get pushed, and we get all excited about something, and then it dies down. And it happens every day in our lives. And I don't think it has anything specifically to do, in this case, with religion. I think it has to do with our short attention spans in this day and age. We're not taught to really have long attention spans. Everything's so quick. So quick. Little sound bites, little clips, little snippets. Twitter, little characters. How many can you put in? We're doing things that just don't seem to make sense. All right, what choked those who represented the seed that fell among the thorns? What are the things might the thorns represent? Fear. Militarized world we live in this day, a police state, the politicians around the world, the bankers. All of those things, they choke us out because we're not encouraged by those individuals involved with those things to go out and really find God. Why is perseverance necessary for all who receive the word? Because it's a challenge, because the adversary is around. Look at what's going on here. I had a conversation with someone the other day about this war on terror. This war on terror isn't going to end because it's not a war against an enemy. It's a war against a concept. The concept is terror. And terror comes about from those who are terrorists that create the terror. But we don't have a war against terrorists. It's a war against terror. So there will always be somebody else who will pop up. And the United States of America has a habit that can be tracked and confirmed throughout history, that when things die down and slow down, we create enemies and bad guys so that we can go fight these enemies and these bad guys. And we just keep that process going. It dies down, we create another bad guy, and then we go fight him. And it's okay if the bad guy at some point in time just becomes rogue and then gets other bad guys, because it keeps the war machine going. But when we step away from all of that and we realize how nonsense that is and how opposite that is to what God is about, we would do things differently. Because I'm pretty certain that the way things are going in the world and the way you hear people clamoring for war, I'm pretty certain that that is not in accordance with anything the great Creator would want. So why are we, as a human race, so excited and hepped up about going to fight a battle when we're told and those buttons are pushed? What is that primal thing inside of ourselves? I think we need to, look at that, each and every one of us. That's why we have to persevere, because each and every day we're bombarded with these things. So perseverance is very necessary. What kind of soil do you most resemble right now? Good question. Just kind of a check to see where we're at. What worries or temptations have hindered your growth as a Christian recently? How could you listen more faithfully and intently to the voice of God, and what will help you be responsive to God in your study of the Bible? See, these are all great questions to ask, and they're just checks to see where we're at. Now, I know this uses the term Christian here, and it's a term. I don't like to get stuck on terms because I just believe that we're all children of God, and to separate and say, well, that's a Christian child of God and that's a Jewish child of God, and it's all silly, because everyone is a child of God, and we're all down here as children of God to evolve and to grow, to not separate or segregate ourselves into different groups. That can be done, when we're off of this lifetime. That can be done other places. But here, we're supposed to learn to get along with each other. And we don't get along with each other if we segregate. So the world is an interesting place. We're making it an interesting place. We've got a lot of information from the past, from Jesus and from the other teachers around the world in our past who have left information about these times. And it certainly seems that we're in some very challenging times. So I go back to Jesus all the time, because that's where I find comfort. That's where I find answers, because I'm able to look and understand Jesus went through some real challenges. And if I have a question in life about the challenges of my life, I just look to understand what he went through, and it helps me put in perspective so that I can get a clear picture and say, okay, now I know what I need to do. Now I know the direction, because I took time to consider what somebody else went through. And imagine the focus, what Jesus had to do. Imagine you sent down to the planet. You have to go through this process, and you're not going to like what you have to do, because the end process results in him being sacrificed. And there has to be a lot of perseverance. You have to really have a strong conviction to go down there. And that's what we have. And look, 2,000 years later, we're still talking about it, because of the perseverance, because of what was done out there. I know people say that, some people want to go out there and they want to change the world and they want to change everybody. But I don't think it's necessary that we have to go out and change everybody. Just use Jesus and the apostles as an example. He didn't set out to change the whole world. He changed 12 people. 12 people, 12 apostles, and they, along with that information they had, now went out. And those 12 people expanded. And look at the whole world. 2,000 years later, we're still talking about Jesus. We're still talking about what happened, because it was that significant. So there you have it. That is today's parable. So in your meditations and your contemplations, just consider how you fit in with all of this. Where are you in terms of the Word of God, in interpreting it and understanding it and bring it into your life? Are you one where it's fallen on good seed, the seed has fallen on good soil, or do you need some work to do because the seed's elsewhere? Ask yourself those questions and then give yourself the right answer. That's what we need to do. Be real and be honest with ourselves. And when we can do that, we're all right. All right, let's move from here. Let's move to an article over at In5D. This is about honey and cinnamon. Honey and cinnamon, good stuff. A lot of good benefits from honey and cinnamon. Drug companies won't like this one getting around. It is found that a mix of honey and cinnamon cures most diseases. Honey is produced in most of the countries of the world. Scientists of today also note honey is very effective medicine for all kinds of diseases. Honey can be used today without side effects, which is also a plus. Today, science says that even though honey is sweet, when it is taken in the right dosage as a medicine, it does not harm even diabetic patients. So here's some of the things honey can deal with. Heart disease. Make a paste of honey and cinnamon powder, put it on toast instead of jelly and jam, and eat it regularly for breakfast. It reduces the cholesterol and could potentially save one from a heart attack. Arthritis. Patients benefit by taking a cup of hot water with 2 tablespoons of honey and a small teaspoon of cinnamon powder. It helps with bladder infection. Cholesterol issues, 2 tablespoons of honey, 3 teaspoons of cinnamon powder. If you have a cold, take some of this, will help clear that up. Take 1 tablespoon of honey and a quarter cup or quarter spoon of cinnamon powder. It'll help your upset stomach, or if you have gas, it'll help your immune system. If you've got an indigestion problem, honey and cinnamon will help that. Influenza, longevity, tea made with honey and cinnamon powder when taken regularly arrests the ravages of old age. Use 4 teaspoons of honey, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder, 3 cups of boiling water to make a tea drink. 1/4 cup, 3 to 4 times a day. Raspy or sore throat, it will help that. If you have pimples, helps clear that up. Skin infections, weight loss, daily in the morning, 1/2 hour before breakfast on an empty stomach, and at night before sleeping. Drink honey and cinnamon powder boiled in 1 cup of water. When taken regularly, it reduces the weight of even the most obese person. Also, drinking this mixture regularly does not allow the fat to accumulate in the body, even though the person may eat a high-calorie diet. Help you with fatigue, bad breath, hearing loss. So all good things here. Someone added in here, cures cancer into there, which is another thing that I've seen of this. So a lot of good benefits. Lots and lots of good benefits. Yeah, I really like the cinnamon and honey. I like to, I've been using it, like it says in there, on bread, on toast. I'll make tea with it. Sometimes I just, mixing it up and just having a little spoonful of honey with a little bit of cinnamon mixed in, pretty good. It's like a candy. It's amazing. All the wonderful things that we have in life that we can naturally use to help ourselves are available and can do just wonderful things with the cinnamon. Another good one is cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper is an ingredient that you can put on a lot of things. It helps the body in many, many ways, from weight loss and keeping your weight down, to helping your heart and your immune system, to providing energy. Ginger's a real good one. In the morning, instead of a cup of coffee, have yourself a slice of ginger. Just get a piece of ginger, cut a little slice off of it. Cut the, you don't want to have the skin on it, so cut the skin off. It'll be bitter, but once you chew that up, swallow it down, you'll find that energy from that ginger will kick right in, and you'll be energized. So there's lots of great things out there. Lots of great things for us just to keep looking at. We don't have to rely upon all of the medicines that the pharmacies make, because, well, all those have weird side effects, don't they? You take one medicine for something, but you have to be aware of all of the side effects that you're going to get when you take it. Your headache may be gone, but you get 10 other ailments in replace of that. All right, here's our channeled message for today from SaLuSa.
SaLuSa.
By Mike Quinsey, September 12, 2014.
SaLuSa.
Dear ones, you have such a great potential yet to be revealed, and with careful planning you will gradually find your consciousness expanding. It is all part of your evolutionary plan and is preparing you for full consciousness. However, it is in the future, and at the appropriate time you will be helped to achieve such an upliftment. Already there is an awareness of your consciousness growing, and you can take credit for such an advancement, as it is you who has applied yourself to your tasks. At the moment there are souls on earth who are at all different levels of consciousness, and it causes much friction between the different groups. You should not allow yourselves to be distracted by what is going on around you, and concentrate on your own advancement. The days of sacrificing your own development to help others are no longer necessary, as all souls now know where they are going and what is expected of them. The time has arrived when each soul must apply itself to its life plan, doing its best to achieve its goal. Be assured those who lack awareness of what it is, will be assisted to make as much progress as possible. The human race has evolved so rapidly it is hard to believe the advancements that have been made. It seems that the harder the task ahead, the greater is the effort put into achieving success. As we have often pointed out, no soul is asked to do more than they are considered capable of, which is why some who already know their limitations have accepted that ascension is beyond them in this cycle. All experience does, however, make a good platform for those aspiring to complete this cycle, by making great strides in their evolution. How other souls progress is their own choice, although we do encourage them to take every opportunity to raise their vibrations. You may have noticed that we draw much closer to you, and that is because the time to meet us is drawing nearer. Our craft are now seen more often in your skies, and we have shown for a long time now that we can be present without little fear being experienced by your people. We have never endangered you, although some of your pilots have experienced apprehension when faced by our craft. Be assured we are totally in control of our craft, and with our technology can deal with any situation that may arise that could pose a threat to your safety or indeed ours. We have often helped you out when dangers have threatened you, in such a way that you are rarely aware of our intervention. Sometimes what you call miracles are attributable to our presence, but we have first to be sure that we are not interfering with your karma. There are so many different species living on or in your earth. The inner earth dwellers have been with you for eons of time, but will meet you in the near future. They are more evolved than you are and have much to offer you. Others also have bases within the earth, and some are placed on the seabed out of your reach. Perhaps the most surprising revelations will be when humans acknowledge their space families, because many souls that have incarnated on Earth come from other planets. It is all in the interests of the future of the human race. Individuals can ascend at any given time, but the whole human race only gets such an opportunity at the end of a solar cycle that you are now experiencing. So you will understand that you have entered a very important period, which your future depends on. Many souls are working with you to ensure you achieve your goal, and we are confident that you will succeed. When you look back, you will marvel at your resilience and intent to move into the higher levels. Be certain and know that your destiny does not lie with the earth that you are now familiar with. Those of you who prove to be ready will move out of the lower dimension, and leave the old earth behind. It is time for a new start and to wipe the slate clean, as you are not doomed to stay in the present dimension. You will find it hard to resist the new vibrations coming in, and indeed why should you, as your destiny is to return fully to the light. If you did but know it, you have experienced so many situations that have thoroughly tested you, and finally you come through it as a being of light. The physical realms are not your home but have served you well for your experience. Fear is your biggest obstacle to evolution, as in such a state your progress is halted and you are vulnerable to the lower vibrations. When confronted with conditions that can bring it out, treat those responsible with love and understanding. Entities of the lower vibrations feed off them, and that is not what you want them to do. Do not empower them but rather isolate them and take away their power. Is it not interesting to think that in effect by taking no action, you follow the best path available to you? Confrontation and revenge are the actions of those who do not understand karma, and are unaware that every soul is responsible for them. You cannot lie your way out of responsibility for your actions or words. When you pass over and you review your life, you will find that only the truth can remain, and it is no good trying to fool anyone. It is not so frightening as you might imagine, as those higher beings who handle such matters are all love and not there to admonish or punish you. Life on Earth is usually all ups and downs, so please try to understand what lessons are being presented to you. If you do not learn from them, they will keep coming back until you do. That is what life is all about, so accept your lot because you will have agreed a life plan. Your task is to learn the lessons presented to you so that you do not have to do them again. That way you will evolve much quicker and lift yourself out of the lower vibrations. I am SaLuSa from Sirius, to help you and ensure that you put your energies into those things that are most beneficial to you. You will never regret it, as so much is at stake, and you will progress so much faster. Try to remove those things that you recognize as standing in the way of your progress. I leave you with much love and light, and thank you for your desire to move further into the light.
Thank you, SaLuSa.
Alright, nice message from SaLuSa, as always, which brings us to our meditation for today. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and exhale. Take another deep breath, and exhale again. Take another deep breath, and exhale. And just breathe in and out, and just feel how good it feels just to breathe in and out. And just keep breathing in and out Let the words of this affirmation just reverberate through your being. I deserve to be successful. I deserve to be successful. And as such, imagine yourself to being successful. Know that success is available to each and every individual on the planet. And simply by seeing oneself as being successful in one's mind's eye is the first step along that path. Believing that success is possible and that you can attain that success. Imagine everyone around the planet at this point in time making an effort to make an improvement in their life. So let's just send love and light and positivity out into the world. Send it to all of the people around the planet. Just imagine a huge blanket of light covering the planet. And as this light reaches out to every individual around the planet, they feel the possibilities and the opportunities and the love that is available all around them. And all of these energies strengthen and encourage others to step forward, to reach out for this success, this connection that they so desire. Let's imagine good things happening around the world. Let's imagine all around the planet any sort of weapon, any kind of weapon, completely dissolves, disintegrates, so that there are absolutely zero weapons left upon this planet. Let us imagine a world where there are no weapons. And without any weapons, humankind has to engage in a different way. So let's imagine in a world without any weapons that people stop killing and hurting each other. And let's imagine in this world that people start respecting and loving each other more. And without the weapons, let's imagine ourselves creating tools to help us grow and evolve, to build. And let's imagine the world growing and becoming a better and better place each and every day. So let's just think of these positive thoughts. And as we go forth into this weekend, let's just imagine the world as a bright, beautiful, positive place. A place of peacefulness where all violence has gone away. A place of love. So let's just keep sending love and light and positivity into the world. Let's bring our conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That is our show for today and our shows for the week. Thank you very much. I will be back with First Contact Radio on Monday. However, tomorrow I will be over at KCAA 1050 AM. It's out of the Los Angeles Inland Valley, Inland Empire area. You can catch the show 6 to 10 p.m. It's a live call-in show, so if you want to call in, you have any questions, we have a format we're going to be following through the show, and so you can just join in when we tell you that we're going to be taking calls. So check it out. It's KCAA 1050 AM. You can find it online, kcaaradio.com. And if you're in the Los Angeles or Inland Empire area, just tune in to the show tomorrow night. That is it. I will be back on Monday. Have an awesome weekend. I love you. Keep loving each other. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.